one man, one mission: to rid the world of bad drum tone. The Drum Tuning Guru is on the air. The Drum Tuning Guru is brought to you by The Music Factory. www.themusicfactoryoc.com. Now here's the guru, Danny Thompson.
Let's do it. All right, guys, thanks for checking in to another episode of the Drum Tuning Guru. I'm super stoked. Got a great guest today, long-term great buddy of mine, Mr. Greg Crane. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Thanks for checking in with us and being on the show.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So what have you been up to, man?
Oh, nothing. We just got back from Nashville a couple days ago. We were all in Nashville. We had a summit with our drum artists in the Nashville area and got everybody together. And we're kind of doing that this summer. We're doing one in New York next month, and then an LA summit in September. So it's pretty cool, man. Just getting everybody together and.
What are the summits all about?
What's that?
What are the summits all about?
Oh, what we do is just to get everybody together. I mean, we have so many artists in so many, different parts of the country that we can kind of gather everybody in the main parts of the country, like Nashville, and we get together at SIR and just roundtable things and talk about what's going on new with us, what's going on new with them, what we can do better, what they just a big kind of a meeting,
a love
and a
fest,
and a big love fest.
Right on.
Yeah,
and your official title now at Yamaha is Artist Relations Manager. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Right on. So for everybody out there, why don't you give us a little background, like, how'd you get involved in in the industry, and what was your progression through, the ranks to get to such a cool gig?
Yeah. What I did is, I don't know. I mean, I started in 1992. I started working for a very large music company. Do we say that?
Sure. We both worked at Guitar Center.
I started working for Guitar Center.
Here's the thing. If like you meet somebody and you're like, oh, I play drums, right? Or I play guitar, or I like guitars. What do you think? Yeah. It's about a 92% rate that they worked at Guitar Center at some point. Yeah,
totally.
No matter, not that I'm a famous drummer at all, but I could get a gig, like I could replace Larry Mullen in U2, which is sort of like my dream gig, because I would make a ton of money. Like, if you think about great drumming gigs, being in U2, pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Check it out, right? They're huge, so you'd make a ton of money, but you know what? Larry Mullen, he can walk down the street, go to the 7-Eleven. Occasionally I'm sure a person comes up and is like, oh my God, Larry Mullen. But for the most part, he can still just live his life, not like Bono or something.
Totally,
so it'd be just like Bono, the ultimate.
Bono's like Lenny Kravitz. Like, he's got to be on all the time. Like Lenny Kravitz can't go down to 7-Eleven without putting on chaps and like.
I'm wearing chaps right now, actually.
He's one of our listeners. Don't talk about Lenny Kravitz. All right, cool. Yeah, man. So I started working for Guitar Center, and I mean, I immediately, when I started working there, the only thing in my head was I knew that I was going to be picked up. I was going to be wanking on the drums in the drum department, and somebody would see me come and play, and it'd be like, oh my God, you need to join our band, or you need to come on tour with us. That was absolutely my only thought. I'm like, I'm going to be here a couple months, and that's going to be it, man. I'm gonna get picked up. I'm gonna be the next Stephen Perkins. I was in a huge Stephen Perkins vibe back then,
Mm-hmm.
And after like a month, I was like, man, dude, I love helping people. Like, I really liked it. Like, I really dug the hang. I dug talking about drums, and I just really dug that whole scene. And I just decided to stick it out. I'm like, maybe this is my thing. I can, be who I want to be. You could be over the top, or you could be, if you're shy, when you work in that environment, if you're a shy person, you could be extroverted, and it's cool. It's like you're not playing a character, but you get to be whoever you want. You know, you could just have fun and have fun with the customers, and I just really started digging that, and worked there for 12 years, and I worked with another good friend of mine who helped me out so much along the way, named Danny Thompson.
We had a lot of good times.
We had a lot of good times, man.
What was the name of that? Drummers Night Out.
Not to embarrass, but oh yeah, man, we had, you know, those were just so great at putting those together. And no, not to embarrass you, but I owe so much to you. So
well, thanks, man.
Sorry to embarrass you there.
That's
but,
all right.
I do.
I appreciate it very much, man. So I'm glad. I'm super proud that you're in the position that you're in, and that things have worked out so good for you, and that all these years later. I mean, I was at Guitar Center for 18 years, and it's great that we're still buddies and get to work together, and it's awesome. It's a small community. There's no doubt about it. The drummer, you know, community or music community, it's pretty small. Everybody you run into.
It's like GC was. Yeah, it's the Guitar Center gig is when we were there. I mean, that was more high profile than like a weatherman. You know, you could be walking around Knott's Berry Farms and somebody be like, "Hey, dude, Guitar Center, way man, whoa." You're like, yeah, all right, yeah. We'll talk on Monday, bro.
Yeah,
kids, you know?
What I was starting to say is, no matter what, like, you know, I moved on from Guitar Center. I've been playing drums and touring, and you know, was even in, you know, a drum magazine and all these things that were always on my list of life accomplishments. And everywhere I go, it's like, hey, dude, I worked for you at Guitar Center. Like, I'll be in Canada playing a face-to-face show, and a guy will be backstage and he'll be like, hey, dude, you remember I worked at Fountain Valley for you for like a week? So how did you go? So then how did you end up at Yamaha, and then ultimately how did you get the artist relations gig?
Well, I started working the Yamaha in 2004, and it was cool because I was traveling around a lot, and the opportunity came to work with at Yamaha and work in national accounts, which actually would still, you know, kind of help out the Guitar Center guys. So it was a nice transition, you know, and so I started doing that. And then I became the product specialist for drums, and I was doing a lot of helping out with our artists and introduced to those guys through helping out with warranty things and like that. So that kind of opened the door, you know, getting a lot of relationships with those guys, and it just kind of naturally progressed. So this I've been in this position since April as the manager. And it's going great. It's been really, really good. I mean, it's 24 hours, man.
I bet.
It's 24 hours, but I love it. And it's one of those, you know, not to do the total cliche, like, hey, if you love what you're doing, you're not going to work, you know, that whatever that line is. But it's true. Like, I really absolutely love doing it. And I, you know, to me, it's kind of, you know, like you see a piece of, you know, you see like your finished product on stage later, you know, like with Shannon Larkin for this last tour that they did. You know, we put together, me and him got together and we put together his drum kit for the tour that they're on now, and Godsmack is on now. So we got together and we had a lot of conversations about what the colors are going to be and what the sizes are going to be, and his rack and things like that. And we spent a lot of time, and we got the drums, and they came in time, and we shipped them out, and they got them set up. And then when I went and saw him in Vegas a couple months ago, and I was like, wow, you know, that was for me, like looking like, hey, you know, we put that together, you know, that
right on.
You know, I worked on that, and now it's all done, and people are enjoying it, you know, and just seeing our artists happy and making sure that they have everything they need to do what they're doing. You know, we never forget that that this is what you as a Yamaha artist, you know what I mean? This is what you do for a job. You know, everybody sees, you know, all the rock stars, man, they're total rock stars, and they're in this and they're on that, and, you know, they're Video Music Awards, and they're on every, you know, show on the Grammys, blah, blah, blah. That's all cool. And it's also, that's what they do for a job, you know, and it's our job. It's my job to help you and them, to get, to get the job done, to do it for the kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a really valid point. I mean, as fun as it is to play for people and do all those things, if you go to play and your kit doesn't sound good or you're not happy with your setup, I mean, it doesn't matter if there's a ton of people out there. I mean, they don't notice any of that stuff, and they don't know that you don't think you had your best night ever or whatever. But to every artist that I know and every drummer and musician, that stuff still, I think, no matter how far along you go, that stuff still matters more than anything. You want to have a great night. You want to know you played great, you sounded great, and you did your best, regardless of whether there's 10 people there or 10,000 people. Exactly. Unfortunately for me, I seem to play the best when there's 10 people versus the 10,000, but
which is most of the time. No,
it seems like I talk to other guys and they say the same thing. It's like, I played the biggest show ever, and I played like crap. But anyway, so all right, well, let's because people aren't going to want to hear us reminisce about Guitar Center for a 40-minute show.
Yammered on.
Let's get into a little bit here about drum tone and see what get your perspective on some of these things. I'm sure you got some great information from working with guys. I do this, have this little list, the 5 elements of good drum tone. Trying to kind of put something together that gives people, like a list to follow almost. And the order that I came up with was tuning, the player, the drum head, the drums, and then the environment that the drums are in. And I'd just be interested to get your perspective on that, whether your order might be a little different or...
Are you putting those in like more important to less important?
Yes.
I would say, gosh, probably...
When I put those out like on Facebook at one point and asked other people to kind of put their list together, and it was all over the place.
Yeah, I would say probably number 1 to me is the player, because it's all their mindset, like how they want the drums to sound. Some people really like, they tune their bottom heads the same as the top. Some people tune the top heads, or the bottom heads just a little bit higher than the top. So the player, I think, probably in their mindset is number 1 on what's going to get a good tone. There's a lot of drummers out there that like drums not to sound all that great. Seriously, there's drummers out there that like kind of a lo-fi vibe.
Which could be fine if that's the style of the music.
Yeah.
But at the same, but do you think, all things considered, if you take that really good drummer, right, and let's say it's Larry Mullen, right, Yamaha artist, and if you went to see him at the big show and the kit, had really old, horrible drum heads on it, and he was playing the same way he always does, wouldn't he, sound inferior to how he would sound if the kit was dialed in and all
that's right. The heads would just be all jacked up and pitted.
Or what if he wasn't playing on a beautiful Yamaha kit that night? He was playing on a we won't even say anything.
It wouldn't sound the same.
A cheap kit. Or not even cheap, just a poor, kit that just couldn't be tuned or any of those things. He'd still sound good because he's Larry Mullen and he knows how to play, or whatever drummer we're using. But wouldn't those things also, all things considered, the better quality drums and the better tuning and all those things make them sound even better?
Agreed. I think so. What about drum heads? I mean, I would say drum heads on a less expensive... I mean, you could take really good heads on a drum kit that's not, $20,000 or, even $5,000 and still make get a great tone out of a kit just from drum head choices. Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly... That's going to be a huge factor. I would say more so... new heads, fresh heads versus old stuff. Because, I mean, there's not really, like, cheap drum heads. They're pretty much all, in the major companies anyway, they're pretty much all pro quality and things like that. So, you know, when you're out there working with some of these pros that you've been touring with, I mean, what is it that you think makes these guys sound so much better than the average drummer?
Oh, geez. I mean, obviously, the drums that they choose that goes with the music that they play. Drums like, I mean, I'm going to use obviously Yamaha as an example, but
sure.
Drummers like Dave McClain, who plays with Machine Head. He chooses Oak Custom drums because with the music that they play, which is super fast, and his toms and his kick drums have to be super articulate.
Yeah.
That kit meshes with him really, really well. So, but if he maybe had a kit that had like maple shell with rounded bearing edges, it'd be a lot darker, wouldn't have as much punch to it, wouldn't have as much projection. I think what kind of makes them sets our drummers apart is their choices that they use for their kits. It makes them sound so good.
So choosing the right style of drum kit as far as the wood choices and the design of the kit to suit the styles of music that you're playing.
Absolutely. Look at like Mike Borden, for example. I mean, he uses 14-inch, 15-inch, and 18-inch, 14 and 15-inch rack toms. And if he had to play, another kit that was say, 12, 10, 12, 16, it just would just wouldn't work. And it would look really funny because everybody's seen Mike Borden with big giant, toms, but he knows that the music that Faith No More is playing, or Ozzy, or any of those guys, he needs big sounding, Oak Custom is what he uses too, big sounding shells. So he's able to, get a perfect sound that works with his music. That make any sense? Maybe.
No, absolutely. I think that's a really good point that is probably overlooked by a lot of guys when they go in to look for a new drum kit. They're looking at the color, or they're looking at what other artists, are playing the kit versus, is this kit really going to feature, and fit the style of music that I am, and also the style of player that you are, whether, the way you strike the drums and, your attack is going to have a huge impact on those things.
I mean, there's a lot of, like awesome 20-inch kick drum, drums out there with 20-inch bass drums, and everybody's like, yeah, I love 20s, but if me as a drummer, if I played a 20-inch bass drum, I don't think I would play as well. Not because of, just because it's not my kind of drum, right. Like you wouldn't be able to perform as well. And you just gotta choose, even though it looks, it might look really sparkly or whatever, with stars all over it, but it's got to be the right choice for the music they play.
Well, and one of the things that I've always thought with Yamaha, and even before, before I worked with you officially at Yamaha, I always rented Yamaha kits when I had to fly out overseas and stuff and wasn't using, one of the kits that I built. And, my choice in that was purely based around one thing, which is Yamaha drums are always going to sound great. It's not, I think Yamaha really puts the sound of the drums. That's the number one thing, the quality of the drum kit. Whereas maybe some of those other manufacturers out there, it's really about the paint job and, the look and, all those kind of things more so maybe than it is about the sound.
We were just talking about that actually, and when we're all kind of getting together, and that's what it is. It's got to be the sound of the drums. You gotta love the sound of the drums. And when we get approached by, endorsers, or drummers that want to be Yamaha artists, that's the first thing. It's got to be. I've already, it doesn't have to be, but I'm saying? It's like, they played the drums and they know what they sound like and they know what they're going to get. They got to be in love with the sound of the drums. I mean, obviously we had awesome colors and
sure.
We had colors and cool sizes. We could do all that, but it's got to be the sound of the drums that works best for your music.
Right. Maybe give the listeners a little rundown, in the Yamaha line of drums, and you don't have to do them all, but, just kind of maybe the majors, Recording Custom and the Maple Custom kits, Oak Custom, and the Birch kits. What are some of the differences in those kits, in the shells, and how does that impact the sound of the drums?
Well, we have kind of our where our drums begin at is a kit called the Gig Maker. And the Gig Maker, comes in a 5-piece configuration. It's wrap finishes and sparkle finishes. Same Yamaha hardware that we put on all of our other drums. And they sound really cool. I mean, we put, you put like pinstripes on them and fatten them up. We actually did that at a couple NAMM shows, and they sounded really, really great. So Gig Maker, then there's Stage Custom Birch. And Stage Custom Birch is a total flagship line for Yamaha. I mean, we've had Stage Custom since the late 90s. I mean, it's almost like Stage Custom is almost like saying Xerox. It's like it has a name. You can always say, "Oh,
yeah, I remember them."
Yeah, they already know what you're talking about. So about 6 years ago, we changed it to an all birch shell. So it's the same sizes, same sizes that we always offered. And you can get 18s. So you can make your own kit for Stage Custom Birch. Changed up the finishes a little bit. We offered some new finishes in this last NAMM show, and matte black and honey amber, and they sound great. In fact, I was talking with a couple guys this last week. One drummer named Eddie Bears, and Eddie was talking about getting a Stage Custom kit for one of his friends, a Stage Custom Birch kit, who absolutely loved it and uses it for Nashville studio recordings all the time. So now that people hear it, like, wow, it's a Stage Custom kit. So Stage Custom, and then from Stage Custom goes into our high-end drums, which would be Oak Custom, Club Custom. Oak Custom, of course, is a oak shell, would been around forever. Club Custom, which is fairly new. Club Custom is made of Kapoor, and it's kind of a vintage vibe. I think you played Club Custom, didn't you?
I checked one out for sure.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a vintage vibe. We have a lot of artists that are playing Club Custom now, like Matt Cameron, Aaron Comas, Steve Jordan, of course, was huge in the making of Club Custom. So that's just blown up. It just became a huge drum kit that everybody now is getting turned on to more and more. So Club Custom, and of course you still do Recording Custom. Then our Absolute line, Absolute Birch, Absolute Maple. Absolute Birch and Recording Custom use the same shells.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've ever played a Recording Custom, you like the way that shell is. Absolute Birch has the same shell. It's still got that really bright, come back at you kind of tone, that I love about the Recording Customs. It just spec'd out different with die-cast hoops on it. And I want to talk about hoops too with you, by the way.
Yeah.
And then they get in the Phoenix, our PHX lines, and that's our ultra crazy boutique 11-ply shells. Amazing sounding kits.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean,
let me ask you. So just in general, between like oak kit, birch kit, maple kit.
Yeah.
In a kind of a general sense, tonal quality wise, what are some of the differences somebody could expect from those kits?
Oak is if you took like birch and maple and combine the two, so you'll have all the projection and punch like in your face of a birch kit, but yet it has a lot more low end resonance like a maple kit. A lot of volume and really, really sensitive. So that's what you get out of Oak Custom. So a lot of drummers on the metal side love it. A lot of drummers like Dave Weckl love Oak Custom because you can play it at really lower volumes and it still is a big, huge sound. So Maple Absolute is going to have, we have one here. We were playing it today. I mean, the sound of those drums is super warm, a lot of low end, kind of has a, it's kind of hard to describe. I mean, I like almost vintagey, tone. I don't want to overuse the word vintagey because it's lame, but it's
is vintagey a word?
It's vintagey. You're playing Scrabble. It's got a vintage type of vibe to it. Our maple shells do. They sound warm, but they have a little bit more bite than the normal. On the birch side, really, really bright. Same spec, so you can mix and match them if you want to. With the same lug, same hoop, same color, same everything. But really bright, short, shorter sustain, a lot of attack, And I really love just that the sound hits you a lot more as a player.
Right on. I played that recent kit I had. Man, I've rented a few different kits recently. I played a Birch Absolute kit.
Yeah.
Probably
at the Irvine show, right?
No, that was a Maple Custom, I think.
Oh.
I did a short run of like Northern California shows. The kit I got from the rental place. I can't think of the name. That you hooked me up with, up in Burbank.
Oh yeah.
Center staging, and Birch Absolute. That kit was unbelievable, just like amazing.
Yeah,
probably just the best sounding drums I've ever played on in my life. Just awesome.
Have you ever done? I mean, this is with any company, whatever, with any other drum. But have you ever done the maple bass drum Birch Tom combination? Oh, that's awesome.
I might have to check that out. That's a good. That's a good idea. Yeah, I might check it out.
A lot of guys are doing that. Like Kelly Clarkson's drummer, Miles McPherson, just got his new kit, and it's 24, 13, 16, 18. Birch Tom's maple bass drum. It's craziness.
That's a great idea. I'm going to definitely check that out. All right, let's talk about hoops.
Yeah, man. I freaking love switching out hoops. I don't know why. I love swapping them out on my kit. And I was curious to think if you ever done that. Like,
I haven't. I never thought about it that way. I would say that for years now, I've been a big fan of die-cast hoops over the triple flange. I think that from a tuning standpoint, there's an accuracy to the the stiffness of those hoops. I feel like it takes the tone of the drum and kind of centers the attack more when you have the die-cast hoop. So I can't say that I've switched different hoops to different drums before. I've pretty much just kind of landed on die-cast being what I want on any kit.
Yeah, I like messing around with it, man. I put wood hoops on my kit one time, and I dug it. I liked it, but the tuning range, like I had to tune higher.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool. It would be cool for more like a jazz thing.
Gotcha.
Like if you were normally tuning higher, like I had to tweak them a little bit higher, because if you did it too low, they would just get flat, like
Gotcha.
So then I tried die-cast, our aluminum die-cast hoops, which I'm just freaking loving them.
Aluminum die-cast?
I do that and that aluminum die-cast. Yeah, like there's other companies that do zinc die-cast, like the heavier ones, and ours are aluminum, so they flex a little bit more, but they're still die-cast.
Cool. I would definitely have to check that out.
I dig it, man. I'm not a big of a fan of them on snare drums, but love die-cast hoops on toms.
Excellent.
This is hoop talk.
A whole episode on hoops. So when you go see the local band play, you're out at the bar or whatever, and you see why do so many drummers? Why do their drums just sound like total crap all the time?
You know what? I think it's the room that they're in, because a lot of times playing at a bar, playing in whatever bar, wherever, just for 4 sets a night, or doing the quick, if I'm taking my drums in there. I mean, not me or you, but if you just like, whatever, just taking your drums up there and playing a couple, sets, maybe you're not thinking about, all right, well, what does this room sound like? Should I bring a brass shell snare or a wood shell snare? If I brought wood shell snare drums at gigs, and that just sounded horrible. You're like, it just doesn't work. It's flat, and then you use like a steel, and you're like, oh, okay, there it is,
Yeah.
So maybe just not taking the time to think about what kind of room they're in. And the sad state of drummers not maintaining their drums.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Doesn't that bum you out just like insanely? Like, I'm sharing a rehearsal space or something. This is the most recent thing I'm thinking about. And the other drummer's got his kit in there. And no lie, those drum heads had to be 10 years old. And I'm just thinking, a guitar player would never do that. Why is it? Why are
they have-
drummers, when it comes to that, so lazy?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it's, changing out your drum heads. You're not going to do it before every gig if, you're not getting free drum heads or something. And, and even a guitar player can change his strings before every show if he wants, and it's $5 or whatever. And so there's some cost factors. It's a little more cost prohibitive to maintain your drums that way. But
Totally.
it's unbelievable. It's like there's such a lack of... It's just like this laziness thing. Like, it's drums. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to bang on them. It doesn't matter. And it's like, man, it so matters to the quality of your band and how you sound within the band. And, I mean, there's a lot of drummers out there that a big part of what made them, get to a spot where they could get a great gig in a bigger band, it's not necessarily that they're playing the most intricate, cool drum part, ever. It's that they're playing AC/DC 2 and 4, but they know how to do it right. And part of right is making those drums sound insanely good when you hit the 2 and the 4 only, And it's just amazing, like, how many guys don't think, well, if I just make my overall sound better, how that's going to impact me, in the eyes of other drummers, in the eyes of the listener, and the manufacturers that I want to get endorsements with, or, when I go in to record and all those things. And it's crazy how much neglect there is.
Or at least take the mountains of blankets and packing material and stuff out of the kick drum. My God, it's like, it's like it's like a campground in there. You could make tents out of with all the stuff that's in the kick drum, and there's no sound. Like dunk 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 dunk. My God, take it out.
Yeah, there's a big, one of the main things I want to get across with doing these calls and ultimately with the, with the drumtuningguru.com website and doing the online university is just really getting a lot of the drummers, they just don't know where to start, what to listen for, what it should sound like before the gig, and that's where all the blankets and, well, if I put this tape on here and I, whatever, all the things that you see, they just really, no one's really just showed them the difference and why they shouldn't do it. And that's one of the things I'm really hoping to get across is just, a new approach, a fresh approach to getting good drum tone. So
you're doing work out there, man.
I'm doing the people's work, man, fully. I'm on a crusade. I'm on a crusade. Well, here's the reality. I'm way better at making drums sound good than I am at playing them. So I'm just going to, capitalize on that the most that I can. We're starting to run a little long on time here, so the question that I'm sure everybody wants me to ask you is, so how do they get an endorsement deal, and should I just give them your cell phone number, or?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, man, the thing with us is we're looking, we're always looking for the best. Our drummers on our roster, in my opinion, are the best drummers in the world. And you have to love our drums and coming into it, it's a thing of like, you have to be passionate about, our drums in the first place. And that's a major thing. So, and you can go on the Yamaha Drums website for all your endorsement inquiries.
Oh, is there like a frequently asked questions about endorsements?
Sure. Yeah. There's a whole section on the website. If they want to send in,
right on.
Send in their stuff,
I'll make sure I put the
sure.
I'll put the Yamaha link in the show notes here, so people can go to that. So should they not come up to you at NAMM when you're busy with 12 people and hand you a demo tape?
No, I'll get that anyway.
Or a CD, or maybe now it's a download card.
Demo tape. A demo
tape.
Here's a tape.
Hello, Danny's old. Wow.
A demo tape. No, I think they still do demo tapes.
No, guys hand out download cards now. They don't even do CDs.
Oh, that's right. Here's my EPK.
Yeah, it's a download card.
Yeah, no, man. I'll still get that, and that's cool. That's great. Always looking for, amazing drummers.
All right, guys. Want to thank Greg for being on the show. One of my best buddies so proud of you, and you're doing a great job over there. And
You
I'm
too,
sure
man.
we'll be. I want to have you back on the show, and actually, I think you should just do the show every time with me
We'll just do it.
as the co-host.
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing. And yeah, check the show notes, guys. I'll put links to the Yamaha website in there. Also, the Drum Tuning Guru Facebook page is up and happening. I'll put that stuff in there as well. Drum Tuning Guru website will be up soon. And as always, if you can go over to iTunes and leave a nice review, because we are the #1 rated drum tuning podcast on iTunes. Granted,
Nice.
the only drum tuning podcast on iTunes, and
So you
and
keep
and
yourself-
actually one of the
Come
few
on.
drum podcasts period that I can find on iTunes that has anything to do with drumming. There's a few that have some video lessons or whatever, but as far as information about drum equipment and how to make yourself sound insanely amazing, this is pretty much the only one and the only
Yeah.
place. So shoot over to iTunes, give me a good review there. Greg, thanks again so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Danster.
All right, we'll see you guys. Thanks.